Okay, so I'm going to share now some of the witness statements so that you can see it's not a case of Seven's word against these felons. But actually, this was a massive case. You know, there are 9 of these, and I can show you the box a bit later, but I'll show you because the purpose of today's video was to give you an idea of how things unfolded for me, so that you can connect the dots to some of the events and what I'm dealing with at the moment, and all the smear campaigns and all the rest of it, so we can actually put it to rest. You know, we're dealing with really stubborn entities, demonic entities. I really feel that these people have been taken over by demonic possession. That's what I feel. Because, you know, in the face of so much evidence, court cases, and they still carry on with the same bullshit. You know, they just will not accept defeat. You know what I mean? Even in a courtroom, when the judge tells them they do not want to face the music, they do not want to say, you know, okay, hands up, we admit it, we did this, okay, let's settle this situation and just put it to rest. They don't want to do that. You know, so people like me are forced to have to repeat the evidence again and again. But in the purpose of this video, because I've done this so many times, I'm sharing some new exhibits that I haven't before put out. So let's do that. So I'm going to start by reading, and as I showed you before, just to show you again. Oops, let's try and get it like this. So this bundle is bundle F. So it was, you can see that this is bundle F, and these are the witness statements. And in here contains 14. So actually there's 15 witnesses when we include oh no, it is actually 14. It is 14 witnesses. It's just that there's another bundle, like one separate bundle, and I've got 14 here, and I wasn't sure if she was included in this, but she is, but it's just in a different folder. So I want to show you again that this was sworn. You can see it was sworn in the High Courts as an affidavit. So not only the statements were sworn, but also the bundles of evidence was all sworn under oath and penalty of perjury. Okay, so I'll show you, as I'm not going to read them all. I will put them online. I'll put it on my website so that you can have a read and go through these. There are some of them in the Farrell report, but there were so many that he didn't, Tony didn't want to include everything, because there's so much. I mean, this is a massive case, so there's so much evidence. But there are a few witness statements within the Farrell report. If you go to www.thefarrell report.net, or you can find it also on my website, solutionariesmedianetwork.com. You can go to my website, and you should be able to get the reports there. And if you go to the section which witness statements, I believe, or court documents, in my site, and Tony's site is called the appendices. If you go to that tab, you'll be able to pull up some of the court documents. But as I said, not everything was included, because it would have just made the site, you know, so much evidence. But I think because of what's going on, I think it's necessary to share other statements that haven't as yet come to light, you know, as far as, I mean, they've been come to light in the courts, but as far as me publishing what's been online, these haven't been included. So this is the witness statement. It's dated 25th, or is it 26th? Sorry, 26th of December 2004. Okay, so if you bear in mind, in terms of the sequence of events of documents that I just showed you, in terms of when the sales were happening with NTL and when this case was coming to the fore, you can draw parallels in terms of the timeline of how things were unfolding, which culminated in me having to go into hiding because of all this evidence. You know, we're dealing with gangsters. These are gangsters, you know, felons, gangsters, mobsters, criminals, you know, who only care about not winning, because you can't win with lies, you know, but basically concealment. That's what they're about. Their mechanism to get away with stuff is concealment. It's either foul play or concealment. That's what they use. And so anyway, this is the statement of Lisa Parney. And you can see there's my name at the top. You can see it was in the Royal Courts of Justice. My case reference number is there. And HC04 C042565. So OC04 042565. And this is the first statement of Lisa Parney. And this statement includes, let's see, 26 pages. The last page is, oops. It's actually 27 pages, but it's got a signature there. She actually was a co-signature at the meeting. She co-signed when Hannah actually signed the confidentiality and copyright proof that he knew that I was copyright owner of my work, and went ahead and sold it anyway because he didn't deem me as a threat. He just thought I'd be a just easy walkover. I think he's since learned that that's not the case. Anyway, I, Lisa Parney, attended the meeting with Richard Hanna from Clarion and NTL, Helen Alexander and James Manson from SMG on the 11th of November 2003, following their invitation for us to discuss the launch of Charles's Lifestyle Multimedia Productions. I witnessed the events before and after this meeting. I countersigned the contract as a witness for disclosure of the documents and witnessed when Helen Alexander stole the documents. The stolen documents became flagrantly exploited in mainstream broadcasting without authorization or consent directly afterwards, despite our attempts to stop Helen. Charles and I attended meetings with lawyers to take legal action on the 8th of December 2003 and onwards, and reported the crime to the police on the 16th of January 2004. The crime reference number is 5807//04. So that's the crime reference number. At the time when we reported it on the 16th of January was 5807/567//04. Since all this took place, there have been continuous problems with private nuisance on Charles's phone by way of monitoring and interference of our conversations. This became violent after Charles's disc and manuscript was stolen on the 19th of February, and it intensified when further commercial documents belonging to Charles in March of 2004 became infringed. Alright, I just read, this is page 2. As I said, I will put this stuff online, but you can see what I'm reading. Recently, I was trying to make a call on my home phone, but the number I dialed was rerouted to NTL's call center's answering machine. I hadn't dialed NTL's call center and knew the number I dialed by heart. Something very weird was definitely going on, especially as strange things had been happening. Other people connected to Charles have said their phone calls have been rerouted too. None of this happened to any of us before Charles and I went to the meet the defendants at NTL on the 11th of November 2003. I know Charles has also been followed around and watched. All kinds of evil, horrible things have happened since her work was sold. It's the result of wanting to take this case to court, sorry. She's being constantly threatened and bullied because they want to control, own, profit from her property and work for free. Just checking the time here. They just don't want to acknowledge, credit or pay Charles after stealing and selling her work because they work for corporations. They obviously believe they can blatantly steal and exploit people's property and get away with it. Obviously we don't accept this. There are laws to prevent and stop this kind of abuse. Court action is the only way that the law will be enforced with these particular individuals. There's been an abuse of the law and denial of property and human rights. The situation is unbearable. The situation was unbearable a year ago. Now it has become critical and dangerous for Charles. Bear in mind, this is 2004. We're now 2018. So you can just imagine what I've lived through. The defendants have been so destructive that her life is now in turmoil as a result. So you can actually see by just that, I just read part of page 1 and 2. Page 1 and part of page 2, because obviously it's a huge statement, there's 26 pages. And I'd be here all night if I read the whole thing. But that's just to give you a flavour and a taste of, that's just one witness who was at the meeting with me. Okay, the reason I'm doing this, because we've emphasised the courtroom audios, but the courtroom audios are generated by the evidence. Okay, so, you know, if you have a case and you've got evidence, then there's a case to be answered. You can't have evidence and people haven't shown up in court. They haven't responded to the case and then the case disappeared. You have to ask yourself, how has that case disappeared? If there are all these witnesses and all these statements and all of these people have come forward, they've all produced exhibits. She produced exhibits. This is her exhibit page. Exhibit Lisa Pane 1. This is the exhibit marked as LP1 in the witness statement of Lisa Pane, 26th of December 2004. And then she lists her exhibits. The list of all her exhibits. So it wasn't just witness testimonies, there was also exhibits produced by people. And she produced the signed statements. This was her contract signed by herself for my work. Yeah, these are basically the exhibits it cut off, so I'm just continuing. These are Lisa Parnay's exhibits. And in these exhibits, besides the signed contracts for the meeting, you see the contracts that were signed. Oops. That's her name, Lisa Parnay. And she was the she co-signed the same time as Hannah during the meeting with Helen Alexander. And we wrote to Helen Alexander. You will see that Helen Alexander was head of Radio 2, commissioning editor for the BBC Radio 4. Those are some of her productions, some of the things she's done. And then basically she took Christopher Evans' company. That's Christopher Evans. And she had a case against him. And she took his company off him, which we discovered as well. So she had been at it before I came along. She had a history of doing that to people, but we were not aware, unfortunately, until too late. And, you know, there's lots of email exchanges between Lisa and Helen Alexander, and also myself and Helen Alexander. You can see these are emails regarding the meeting, Tuesday's meeting. Okay, those are emails, all part of the court case. And you can see also that Helen Alexander, when she realized that we were onto the fact that they were selling the work, she obviously was panicking, and she did what they usually do, which is to try to stall you by saying, oh, we're looking at the project and we'll get back to you. But meanwhile, she was selling it all over the place. I want to find you that email. So she says that you can read it here. So this is Helen Alexander email regarding the meeting. And you can see it says, we'll take a look and get back to you. Of course, she never got back to us because she was selling it. And then when we asked her to return the documents, that's when all the whole thing went pear-shaped. And, you know, I started being followed, threatened, getting death threats, and it went out of control. This is an email from Lisa again. This is an email from Lisa, and you say, you can see it says, we must, sorry, here, and let me go the other way, sorry, it goes opposite way round, there. We must ask you to return both copies of our shows immediately without further delay, included with signed confidentiality disclaimer attached to the email 24th of the 11th, 2003. Right? So that's an email that went out on the 5th of the 12th, 2003. So once we realized that they were selling my work, we asked them to return the documents, but that's when it went pear-shaped, and that's when the threat started. Our phone calls started to be transferred, and the targeting situation began. So I'm going to put all of this online so that you can have a look at the exhibits as well. Because as I said, in order for me to win the case, you know, there was a lot of evidence that was produced. And, you know, I produced the courtroom audios because that summarizes what's in the actual evidence itself. But obviously the courtroom audios are generated from the actual exhibits and the case and all the evidence. And because obviously there is attempts to cover it all up and make it look like none of this evidence ever existed, and you know, to cover up what actually transpired, I think it's necessary for people to see the scale of the case and how well the case was put together as well, you know. And also for people who are doing cases, it's a very good case study to have a look at. So I'm going to read the statement now of Ronnie Nicholas, who's my cousin, and his statement is the 16th of December 2004. First witness statement of Ronnie Nicholas. He's done quite a few statements, but I'll read it just so that you can see what I'm reading. You can take a, you know, freeze the page, and then you can see that I'm reading factual. His statement is massive, 156 pages, and that's with exhibits, and that's his signature at the bottom. You can see. Okay, so obviously I can't read the whole thing, but I'm going to read enough for you to get a good gist of how blatant this case was. I, Ronnie Nicholas, am the relative of Charles Seven and am a witness to the deeply disturbing criminal acts ever since Charlie met the defendants about her literature and her written material was stolen, infringed and sold. I can testify and confirm that the particulars of this claim contain the absolute truth. Therefore, in accordance with the Human Rights Act 1998, Articles 2, Articles 4, Article 6, Articles 8, Articles 14, Article 17, the Copyright Act 1956, 8802, the Misrepresentation Act 1967, Trade Descriptions Act 1968, this case must proceed, otherwise we would not be wasting court time or our time. I have exhibited proof as evidence with this statement. This is by far the worst and most shameful, nasty case of corporate fraud, professional malpractice and total abuse of power ever. I go further to say, if this case does not proceed and if Charlie is not paid and credited for the worldwide exploitation of all formats created from her stolen documents and script as the rightful sole copyright owner with costs, damages and a public apology for all the unnecessary grief and harassment our families and friends will be taking private prosecution about against all 10 defendants. These defendants may think they can cover up criminal acts by lying in statements and trying to strike out the case out of court, but we will not tolerate the abuse. The defendants will be exposed for what they are and what they've done to my family. There is no smoke without fire. This claimant has been severely abused, not just for her literature, but even the exploitation of Charlie's name. Since trying to take legal action, which we have every right to do, Charlie has become subjected to the most malicious campaign of harassment, still going on today, publicly now. To add insult to injury, those responsible still in defense now have the arrogance, cheek and audacity to now even want court costs for the claim. For any of the defendants to get the satisfaction of not being punished for all the pain and grief they have deliberately caused for greed and gain would be a monumentous miscarriage of justice. Are they trying to make a mockery of us or a mockery of the law? Not only should all applications to strike up be absolutely denied, but these defendants' corrupt money-making activities should be thoroughly investigated. The numerous threats and harassments against Charlie has been going on for a whole year now, and it must stop. We have already been to the police, and against all odds, under extreme duress, Charlie has managed to bring this case before the courts as a litigant in person, whilst being sabotaged and her life put under siege. We've had enough of all this nonsense. These distressing crimes are on the increase because most victims are powerless and don't have funds to fight corrupt white-collar criminals working in law firms and large media companies. These professional con artists abuse their position to threaten, bully, intimidate vulnerable creative people to prevent legal action being taken. Although IP corruption is infested in the media, we all know cases such as ours rarely come to light. That was just 2 pages of a damning, utterly damning witness statement. All of these witness statements are damning. So, as I said, I'll put those ones online. Okay, you can see these are his exhibits marked as RN1, Ronnie Nicholas 1, 16th of December. And you can see these are all exhibits of evidence. Obviously, I can't show you everything because I'll be here forever and the video will get longer and longer and longer. But just to show you some key pieces of evidence, this is another letter which has the reference number dead. Sent by Hannah. See what else I can show you here. Well, there's so much stuff. I think what I'm going to have to do, these are our court bundles. We paid a barrister to bring these into court, and he wrote a letter saying there was no evidence. This is what they do. They try every tactic to stop. We delivered this to a barrister, all the documents and everything, and we paid him hundreds of pounds only to find that he didn't put one shred of evidence into the court on our behalf. So that's why we ended up doing it ourselves. And this is what happens, you know. Okay, this was the Voice newspaper in the UK. If you look at the date, it's while we were in court. I think the date says November the 8th, 2004. You can see that. Should be able to see it. Is it showing there? November the 8th, 2004. And this is an article that my cousin and I, we went to see this journalist, Louis, what was her name? Denise Roberts. And she basically investigated our case and was going to report on and follow up on the case. But obviously she had been threatened or whatever, and they had to remove, she had to remove the picture. She put a picture of somebody else. But this is all about what was going on, the growing trend. Denise Roberts investigates the disturbing and growing trend of intellectual property theft. Because what we're talking about is organized IP crime. It's not just, you know, they steal a format or whatever, or an idea. We're talking about espionage, industrial espionage. We're talking about racketeering, death threats to the people who are the copyright owners, threatening our lives, you know, foul play to cover it up when there's big deals. You know, these people will go to all lengths. So this is another statement now. 20th of November 2004. I'll have to stop it and then start it again because there's not enough time on the clock. Okay, this is another statement. This one is from Ayo Ilawali. It's the first statement on the 20th of November 2004. And you'll see Richard Hannah's there and all the others. And you can just take a screenshot of what it says. I'm going to read it out. And I, Ayo Ilawali, am a professional accountant who had meetings with the claimant in spring 2003 about my professional services and involvement in the productions and the team she had put together. I've known Charles personally and professionally for a number of years. I can honestly say that Charles is a sincere, responsible, honourable person, very much respected. For the last 12 months, I have been alarmed to witness Charles be so perversely violated. There has been a persistent problem with nuisance and harassment ever since she and Lisa were duped at the meeting with Clarion NTL SMG Ginger Productions for her documents. Since my knowing Charles, she has been working hard researching and creating documents to address social lifestyle issues in entertainment. Some were of a health and fitness and beauty natures, others had political emphasis. They all came under her main title, At Home with Concepts. These documents definitely had depth and substance to make popular, intelligent TV viewing, with the potential to reach a mass market, because they depicted serious lifestyle issues that affected everyone. So was something that many people would appreciate and relate to, therefore likely to be lucrative to exploit as a business enterprise. That's page 1. This page, first page. And I'll read a bit of page 2. Her statement is 8 pages, and this is her signature at the end. During early 2003, Charles and myself had several meetings regarding my handling the accounts for her intended business venture. She informed me she had already discussed the handling of the bookkeeping with another close friend of hers, Michelle Ellis. I specialize in tax accountancy, and she was interested in my assistance setting up and overseeing the accounts for the proposed new production company. We also discussed my becoming permanently involved as part of her production teams when things got off the ground. As this was a very attractive project, I was happy to offer my assistance and get involved. I too have an interest in popular culture and saw Charles had tapped into an area previously not being addressed or exploited in mainstream entertainment. It was obvious that her concept would be particularly popular with the female market, because this market sector wasn't previously being catered for on terrestrial channels with these types of productions, so there was a guaranteed position in the marketplace. There was no doubt in my mind about Charles's work potential appeal. Both celebrity and lifestyle culture is highly appreciated as a genre, but as Charles had tied her new concept together with the exploration of inspirational methods to highlight the public's serious health and fitness issues, this was not only very original, but also an extremely beneficial tool in raising awareness about the nation's health as a whole, especially as she had made it commercially accessible by incorporating the use of interactive platforms. Charles had created many of these documents with different themes and was ready to do business to trade them. I've had several meetings with Charles after her being up all night working on this project, and know she really put a lot into this work. She expressed that she respected my work and wanted professionals involved that she knew and could trust to handle the accounts and legal affairs. Because after working so hard, she didn't want her work stolen. I've worked on many large accounts during my professional career, so I understood her concerns. When it comes to business, you can never be too careful. Due to these concerns, she informed me that she had appointed the media law firm Russells to handle the legal affairs together with the help of her friend Lisa Parnay, who was completing her law degree at the time. By June 2003, Charles had got things into place and was ready to secure meetings for the sale or licensing of her documents. She wanted to start with the proposals for endurance and fitness-based format with athletes and experts coaching and training celebrities. That became the show The Games. That's one of my formats as well. During this period, Charles had told me she was very keen to contact John Fashanu, which is true. I know John's family and I was going to try to see if I could facilitate a meeting for her. She informed me about having shown Russell's solicitor her documents and disclosing this concept, and them expressing great interest in these productions. I saw that this legal firm had immediately got involved and referred her to 4 leading production houses. Charles was interested to open negotiations about this series with Endemol. However, around the same period, her close relative sadly passed away. Yeah, that was my auntie. So she had put things on hold to address the bereavement with her family. Due to the circumstances, I never facilitated the meeting for her with John Fashanu. Charles and her family went away for a short break and returned about September 2003, which was the next time we met up to discuss attending meetings with commissioners and production companies. We spoke regularly, so I was fully informed about the progress and everything going on. We both also have sons of similar ages who were also very good friends back then, saw each other on a daily basis. I was aware when Mr. Richard Hanna contacted Charles after she answered an online ad. He offered her to co-produce her productions. Charles had declined his offers of involvement several times. However, by this man's own volition, he went ahead and set up meetings for Charles to discuss her format ideas with SNG's head of factual. Charles informed me that this man was very insistent and would not take no for an answer. She was unsure and asked my professional opinion. I had never heard of Clarion TV, but I knew NTL and of course ITV related networks and Ginger Productions, as these were all established companies, and thought it would be positive. Charles and I had already had discussions about seeing Endemol and probably Parliament about her concept. However, she told me, after informing this Mr. Hanna of her already having the intention to see these organizations, he had alerted her to corruption taking place in these networks and production companies. He informed it was unwise to trust Endemol as a new outfit, as she was likely to have her work stolen. Mr. Hanna suggested partnering with himself and NTL and SMG, which would give the backing for the project this from happening. With the woman Helen Alexander's involvement, Charles would get the best deal and put her documented work straight into productions. The devil always comes disguised as a friend. Charles was initially very wary, but later thought it wouldn't be any harm finding out what kind of deal these people were offering. The concept Charles had devised was commercially very viable, so it was really a question of whether Charles wanted to do business with them. I can honestly say, as someone who saw how things really unfolded behind the scenes, Charles only agreed to meet head of factual because she was being pursued about her work. So that gives you an idea. It goes into some detail, but it gives you an idea of what actually took place. So that statement was 8 pages long. So I'm going to go to the statement of another witness, Julie Higgins. 23rd of December 2004. And then you can do a screenshot of this so that you can freeze it. And I'll read it out, but then you'll know that I'm reading the actual document. Just to let you know, it is, this statement is, I think it's just 2 pages, or 3 pages maybe. 3 pages long. You can see her. Yeah. I, Julie Higgins, write this witness statement in support of the claimant Charles Seven, and hereby confirm that I've known Charles Seven personally and professionally since October 2000. We initially met via a music producer who was interested in linking us up professionally during this period. Since then, we have developed a good relationship personally and professionally speaking. I've been both grateful and honored to find such a valued, trusted friend. We share great admiration for each other's talents and abilities too. Exhibits as proof from Christopher Gossage, my contract and emails and letters from Russell's. I've always found my knowledge and experience of the claimant. I've always found Charles to be a sound character, honest, reliable, selfless in the cause of helping others. I can also say Charles is known as someone who writes and composes music, plays various instruments, has written books and TV productions, and has always been very well respected and appreciated for her creative skills. I was aware in 2003 she intended to launch various projects she had developed. It was on such an occasion in June 2003, when I was in desperate need of legal assistance, that I approached Charles in hopes that she would be able to recommend a lawyer to aid in my current dilemma. Coincidentally, during this period, Charles was also being represented by Christopher Gossage at Russell Solicitors in view of launching various TV projects that she had developed. She spoken very highly of him, and he in turn was very excited by her documented productions, and Chris had offered to get Charles's work placed with TV production companies. During this period, Charles was led to believe that by Chris, he was going to assist her in the sale or licensing of her documented works and protect her work from being plagiarized. I showed you the Russell's letter a bit earlier on. So that's proven there. I believe Charles was also contracted to Russell's for these reasons. I know Charles was very much relying on Christopher for Mr. Gossage in respect of these services, and was made to feel confident and certain he would assist her in her business dealings with the production companies he had recommended, and would assist me likewise. On her recommendation, I called Chris, and he scheduled a meeting with me on the 24th of June 2003, which I attended on that afternoon. During the meeting, Chris said he was always keen to take on new clients with Charles, and offered to represent me too. He offered to assist with my situation, which was to be paid my session fee for writing songs and performing on recently released album at the time, for which the payment due was still outstanding. He said my work was excellent and offered to connect me with many influential entertainment business connections to find specific artistic management. And I left him demos. Anyway, you can read that whole thing because it goes into her situation a little bit as well. She talks about the girl band. I can confirm, as someone who's been working solidly in the music industry for many years, there was never previously any girl band named Charlie Seven. This band can only have been formed and created very recently, this year 2004. So there you have it. That was done to shut me up, to to usurp me. Okay, so this evidence relates to Julie Higgins. I'm going to cover up her address. Maybe she doesn't even live there anymore, I don't know. But you'll see it's got Christopher Gossage's same reference that he gave me, and that's her letter from Russell's. And you can see, let's see if that's Russell's solicitors. So she was also a client of Russell's. I want to show you without giving away her personal information. You can see that was Russell's, and that's her, Christopher Gossage. Whoops. You can see it's Christopher Gossage, it's the same lawyers, and you can see it's also in 2003. So it's a few days after I went there, and so that exhibit went in there, went into the case as well. So she obviously was dealing with the same lawyers, so she was one of my witnesses in regards to what transpired there. She was a witness that this man was raving about my work, obviously because he was going to sell it behind my back. These people don't have any respect for people of colour, you know, like me, that are female, that they consider to be poor or whatever. You know, they feel like they can just tread us over, even though obviously Hannah is of that. But I think he actually hates black people the way that he carries on. I think he actually does. He's just a man that's become corrupted, you know. It's really sad. It's sad that, you know, this is somebody I should have been able to look up to and respect. And he's literally been obsessed, you know, behaved obsessed for 15 years, you know. It's really, really sad. It's just sad that somebody's that lost. You know, the dude's completely lost. He's lost it. And he's fixated, you know. If you go onto his Twitter page, it's just all about me. Just a pack of lies, one pack of lies after another. I think his YouTube channel is the same. It's just a totally obsessed stalker mentality, you know. A really sick guy. He needs intervention. He should not be out in public, and he shouldn't be able to threaten people to get rid of evidence. It's just wrong. And he's employing other people. He's paying people to write garbage as well and slander me. He knows that my family died in Grenfell Tower, and you've got people that are writing a whole lot of abuse. What kind of people is that? It's insane. It really is insane. It's just insane. Anyway, so this is another witness statement. Just make sure it hasn't got anybody's address. Okay, so this is another witness statement, and it's Michelle Ellis, 20th of November 2004. And you'll see, you can take a snapshot of it there. And just to show you her signature. And it's a 6-page statement. Not going to read all 6 pages, but just to give you, you know, just for authenticity, you know, to just show you that these are genuine statements. I, Michelle Ellis, have known the claimant Charles for over 11 years now. She is my close friend. I consider her to be extremely trustworthy, virtuous and considerate, someone very decent, with integrity and strong spiritual and moral values. I know Charles well enough to say she would never bring these proceedings if she had not suffered the offences stated in her claim form. She has taken these proceedings because it is the only way to resolve the serious issues and protect her family from further breaches. My knowledge of the copyrighted productions. Ever since I've known Charles, she has been passionately dedicated to her creative pursuits, either composing or producing music, writing scripts, lifestyle-orientated health, beauty and fitness productions and documents, as well as some political productions for mainstream entertainment too. Besides Charles being devoted to her family, she's a perfectionist with her work. By nature, Charles is very cautious and secretive, but is particularly so about her work. She is always very guarded about who she speaks to. I've never had any doubt that all of the work she has been putting into her productions would eventually become a success. I have a good instinct and sense about what's commercial and what's going to be the next fad or winning product. For years, Charles and I have been attending design shows and exhibitions on innovation. Charles is an ideas concept person. In 2001 to 2002, Charles was stuck at home and recovering from really chronic tonsillitis. While she was getting better, she started digging her old projects and got fired up about updating and reviving her health, beauty and fitness lifestyle production documents. Yes, and basically, and I said I was going to relaunch them because I had started working on this project after my brother died in 1994. Was it 94 my brother died? Or 92? I think it was 92. So it was like 2001, 2002 that I started digging them out again. Anyway, yeah. We talked about the fact that it was important subject matter and the fact that British media was neglecting these topics. She originally wanted to launch this idea in the mid-90s. And still in 2001, 2002, no one had touched on it in mainstream entertainment. That's when Charles said she was going to launch her health, beauty and fitness herself in multimedia by 2004. Yeah, I mean, basically it goes into more depth, but you can read all this. Okay, she talks about Richard Hanna. Sometime after this discussion, Richard Hanna approached Charles about her attending a meeting with a commissioning broadcaster from SNG, Helen Alexander, about selling her proposed productions through them. Charles was very unsure at first because she did not know these people. But after talking to Richard Hanna, all her intentions of speaking to other companies' parliaments were postponed. She agreed to first meet these media representatives to see what they were offering. We did discuss whether I should go to this meeting, but in the end I thought it was more appropriate if Charles attended with her other friend and associate Lisa Parney. I was really expecting positive news. There was never any doubt that these documents were being sound commercial enterprise. The main concern was preventing plagiarism. This was something Charles was very concerned about. She had put so much work into this, and for this work to have all been stolen would have been a tragedy. That's why she's always been prudent about talking to people, and why she got the ball rolling to put her own production team in place with people she could 100% trust. Unfortunately, the cog in the wheel, or the bad apple, turned out to be the lawyers she found. So there you go. So basically, she wanted to create a new genre for mainstream entertainment to help with the obesity crisis in the UK. These issues were not being addressed in entertainment. She was positive about the subject matter's validity, in which I agreed. So I'll just give you some sound bites, because if I read the whole thing, you'll be here forever. But I will, as I said, publish these. You know, this is all part of the public domain. It's not miscommunication. It's factual, documented evidence that were part of a court case. And to be harassed in the way that I'm being harassed, threatened, journalists being threatened from reporting on this, that's a crime. Right there, that's a serious crime. You know, and that's why there are cease and desist orders being put out against Richard Hanna now. You know, he's threatening me, saying he's going to put me in prison and all kinds of evil, you know, to shut me up so that he can get away with stealing and brutalizing for over a decade. Does that sound right to you? Of course it doesn't. So this is another woman. It's 29th of November. And this is the first statement of Jenny Sherwood. I'll just give you a snapshot of the first page. And the statement is 9 pages long. Oops, let me just show you the signature. I, Jenny Sherwood, write this witness statement in support of Charles Sevens' case because I believe what I've witnessed Charles suffer throughout 2004 is very wrong both legally and morally. I became very concerned for her safety and security of Charles and her son when I saw for myself that Charles definitely become the target and victim of relentless incidents of harassment, private nuisance. It appears this all has come about as a result of having her intellectual property stolen and plagiarized by broadcasters and her trying to get the case into court. I tried to help Charles and the son before she issued these proceedings and know that she has only taken this case to court to protect herself and the family. I've attached email correspondence as evidence with this statement. My relationship with Charles, this is page 2. Charles and I were introduced through a mutual friend. Being a yoga teacher and someone interested in lifestyle matters myself, I personally identified with Charles's career direction. We related very well and had immediate empathy and mutual respect for one another, and saw the potential for us to work together in the future. Charles's close friend Christine Agnew is also a highly respected yoga teacher and dance teacher who had taught her yoga 15 years ago. Charles felt Christine and I would share a connection and was interested to link us together. In March 2004 and onwards, on learning Charles's copyrighted intellectual property had been stolen and plagiarized, I felt absolutely terrible for her. As someone who takes my work and career seriously, I could understand that this theft and infringements of her material really upset her. She had obviously invested a lot of work into these projects. I felt it was totally wrong and horrible thing to have happened. I met with Charles with some friends, and they had just returned from seeing the lawyer Mr. Rosenblatt. He's the other lawyer involved in this case who stole my master documents. It was another lawyer that pretended to want to take my case and sold the master documents because the masters had more information than the documents that were initially stolen by Helen Alexander, James Manson and Richard Hanna with Russell's. I don't know if I'll make it, but I'm going to try and read this before it cuts off. It was the same day I'd given Charles a contract to take on her case. He had given Charles a contract to take on her case. Charles had been to his office with another friend and given this lawyer a bundle with various documents for her evidence, all the case evidence and evidence of her career background information, her at home with documents. She gave this information for this lawyer to write her letter of claim to the defendant prior to taking legal proceedings. We all hoped he would bring an end to what had already been an ordeal. However, the same information given to this lawyer ended up advertised in the press and on radio not long afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to continue reading from the statement from Jenny Sherwood. Again, you will see Richard Hannah's name was there and all the other defendants. So we said, she said, we gave this information for this lawyer to write a letter of claim to the defendants prior to taking legal action. We all hoped that he would bring an end to what had clearly already been an ordeal. However, the same information given to this lawyer ended up advertised in the press and the radio not long afterwards. After finding this out, we were shocked and very disappointed. Charles had to terminate her contract with this lawyer straight away. The whole situation was bad. Charles was absolutely livid at the blatant fashion she was being ripped off, and having copyright protection. After having copyright protection and a signed contract, Charles gave this lawyer her work so he could analyze the background history, but found behind her back more of her work was immediately sold and advertised. More new products and prime-time TV formats appeared using Charles's written material. When I witnessed the harassment and phone tapping, I believe Charles is a very genuine, decent, good person who in no way deserved to be treated this way. So I called and emailed her on a variety of occasions to meet up and offer moral support in spring of 2004. I was horrified to find every single time that I called her on the telephone, without exception, I could hear that our conversations were being monitored and aggressively intercepted. It was irritating and offensive. I was completely stunned that this was happening. Every time we tried to have a private conversation, the line was being interfered with in a threatening manner. We could hear someone was on the line blocking. We could hear someone else was on the line blocking out and interfering with what we were trying to say to each other to prevent our communicating. We'd literally end up shouting down the phone to tell these people to get off the phone. After this, the phone line would go dead. We'd end up having to frequently call each other back. This was definitely being done to intimidate and wind us up. Sometimes other people were present to witness this happening. Charles would give them the phone to listen for themselves, and they were also dismayed by this too. It was not funny. It was constant, aggressive, and a very annoying nuisance. It happened day or night without exception. It was upsetting to realize someone was maliciously doing this to threaten Charles. She speaks about quite a few things. She speaks a lot about the phones. Just going to get to things that, in May 2004, it came to light that another girl was given her name to front a pop band. Charles found this out because, people went to see this girl and band thinking it was Charles, but found out that it was a brand new band put together by a media company. We all knew instantly this was connected to the other distressing things happening to her. While this was all going on, Charles told me another lawyer she had seen back in February 2004, Tamsin Allen, had promised to return Charles's floppy disk, but ended up stealing it. The disk had Charles's manuscript, The Walk, on it. She was very upset that her disk and manuscript had now also been stolen too. The whole thing was dreadful. Charles was being used and abused by everyone she turned to for help. She told me she felt repeatedly raped over and over again. Everyone she had turned to for help was cashing in on her misfortune. It was very sad and extremely disturbing and destructive. My contacting journalists about what was going on. Out of my shock and horror at what I had witnessed was taking place, I contacted a journalist, Sally Morgan, about her situation in order to highlight the matter through the press, to try to stop the victimization. I thought it was so horrible what Charles was being put through, so I scheduled a meeting with Sally, which Charles and I attended on the 21st of May 2004 in Islington Hilton Hotel mid-afternoon. We explained everything that was happening to Sally and told her about Charles becoming a victim and target of mass fraud and corruption by lawyers and broadcasters, and as a result of them stealing and selling her intellectual property. At the time, Charles was trying to take legal action about this matter in the courts, which she had resulted in some kind of vendetta against her. Charles had brought Charles's movie sold to ITV. Charles had brought along a case full of evidence to this meeting as proof to show Sally that everything was completely true. When Sally saw a copy of Charles's now stolen script, The Walk, together with all the other evidence, Sally looked shocked, and she asked Charles for a brief outline of what The Walk was about. Not realizing why Sally asked this, Charles explained the manuscript The Walk was a joint true story of her and her close friend Christine, a yoga and dance teacher. Christine founded the Walk. Sorry, it's really late here and I'm very tired, but I really feel it's necessary to do this. It's now 7. Oh my God, I've been doing this for ages. During her travels, Christine had founded the Walk during her travels together with another man called Mark in 1985. I remember Sally being completely shocked by all this. She went as white as a sheet, particularly because she had just received a press release for the very same movie script, The Walk, that very morning on the 21st of May 2004. She told us her press release was for a brand new ITV film production scheduled to be filmed either in Australia or the Sahara Desert, but that it's easy to change the location. The real Walk was in Australia, different parts of Australia. Sally said apart from minor changes, it was exactly the same story. Sally informed us that ITV wanted to use the same title for their movie too, The Walk, but there was talk about changing the title to maybe The Walk to Remember and giving the lead character breast cancer. So they tweaked it to, try to disguise that it was stolen from me. But anyway, this is a script and you get an idea. I mean, reading all this again, considering it's all these years later and I'm still in the same situation, just shows you how corrupt the UK is and how wicked people are. You can go through all this, have all this evidence, have all these witnesses, and the wheels keep turning. The abuse keeps going on, gets worse every year. But, I have a lot of faith that eventually the public will see all this and there will be an uproar. There will be an uproar. Questions will be asked. Why this has been allowed to be kept quiet for so long. Why all the foul play has been allowed to happen to silence what was really happening, So this is the exhibit from Jenny Sherwood. And she provided exhibits with emails to the journalists yeah, these are all emails about my scripts, the walk, and my work being sold to ITV, and the journalist having received my script. I mean, this is hard evidence. This is what you call prima facie evidence. There's so much of it. These are all emails. These are all the emails between myself, Sally, and also to do with this journalist who was aware that she had received a copy of my script. She says, I've written to Sally today trying to get a copy of the article. She might be able to come down this weekend. She might not be able to come down this weekend. I have my son's play, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, this is all regarding my stolen script and the journalist that received a copy of it, and etc. So those are her exhibits. I'm not sure how many witnesses we've gone through already, but you get a gist that this was a very serious situation that transpired. And when the judges saw all this, there was no question to any judge that this was a fact. There was no question. So this is another witness statement. 20th of November as well, from Gillis McCluson. I, Gillis McCluson, have known Charles Seven for some time now, and I can testify that she has always presented herself to be a very decent person with strong morals and values, and is well intentioned to all she meets. I am a witness to the events regarding the theft and sale of her IP, so I write this statement in support of this case. I am a graphic design consultant and architect, and was commissioned by Charles in 2003 to design her logos and letterheads for her business stationery and cards. I have provided some proof of this with this statement. I am extremely impressed of how this woman has juggled her family life and her creative ambitions. She was always dignified and respectable. It was apparent that she was extremely hard worker. She had developed many multimedia production documents, music tracks, scripts, and was ready to take them to the market. I could only see good things for her. So I didn't show you his, I think it's about 3 pages, this statement. Sorry, there's his signature. Charles is a multifaceted, intelligent person, someone who clearly is not afraid to work hard to achieve good work. The early part of 2003, she approached me to be part of her design team for the production company she was embarking on putting together. We all got on well. She appreciated my skills and the work and designs that I had done for her logos and letterheads and stationaries. During a meeting, I also met her other associate, Lisa Parney, and we all discussed putting a company together after Charles secured financial deals for her multimedia project. So he basically explains, so he was part of the creative team. I can confirm that Charles has repeatedly since had her phone lines interfered with and communication sabotage, and now has had to terminate phone lines as a result. Apart from having her hard work and efforts plagiarized, her family's entire civil and human rights have been severely violated too. Charles and her family have been put through absolute hell as a result of all this. We are praying the court intervene now with justice in order to stop further abuses in this matter, and that Charles be justifiably awarded for all she has lost and unfairly had to suffer as a consequence. Okay, I'm just going to show you again because I don't know if it cut off or not, but I just was showing you that this was my stationery that one of the witnesses, Gillis, had done for me at the time. It's a like letterheaded paper, business cards. You can see it says with compliments. So just stationery stuff that he did for me for the business. You see at the end of all of these, it's numbered because they're all part of the court case. And these were his exhibits. Once I post them up, you'll be able to have a look at them in more details, and you're going to be sickened. The judges were sickened when they read all this. They were sickened, you know. And this man who never turned up in court has the cheek to come after the fact and talk about, oh, he's going to be malicious communications. Can you not see that this man is insane? Okay, so this is another another witness, one of the 14 witnesses, pre-bar. You can see just a quick shot of the front so that when I read it out, and you can see her signature is there. It says, I've known Charles for around 10 years now. I can verify that she is an honest, conscientious person who's also always conducted herself with accordance to her integrity and values personally and professionally. Charles is very much loved and respected for being a compassionate, caring humanitarian by myself and everyone we know. I can confirm that as long as I've known Charles, she has been using her creative abilities to create various works, music, scripts, lifestyle packages, to raise awareness about health and beauty and fitness in the mass market, developed in order to highlight health issues that are suffered by many, but was rarely addressed in mainstream entertainment. As many of you know, my brother was ill, you know, and basically all began after my brother died at the age of 30. That's what inspired me in the 90s to do this. So anyway, I can confirm I knew she had written a book and film manuscript, The Walk, which was based on the truth. Throughout my knowing Charles, while she has been compiling research for her healthier lifestyle documents, she had come to me for research advice on a number of occasions over the years. I can verify that after the theft of her work, that we heard highly unusual clicking sounds during our telephone conversations on numerous occasions, and realized that the phone line must be being tapped and monitored. This also happened to my phone lines as well. I find this to be a total violation of privacy, as we should be able to have private conversations without this type of nuisance. I have seen Charles' home life be disrupted by these events. She has lost a dramatic amount of weight as a result. Well, when it first happened, I just lost like that. You know, I went from probably a healthy size 8 to 10 to like size 6. You know, I was like skeletal, you know, when my face was like really, my hair fell out, you know, it was horrible. It is my hope. Okay, sorry. Yeah, she says, I've seen Charles' home life be disrupted by these events. She lost a dramatic amount of weight as a result, and this has had an adverse effect on the whole family. I'm aware that Charles has spent large amounts of time and money to compile evidence for the proposed case. I can also verify that since December 2003, she and her fellow associate Lisa Parney have been trying to take legal action through the courts. It is my hope and belief that Charles should be credited, rewarded, compensated for the terrible events that she and her family have endured and suffered as a result. We are praying now for justice. This was 20th October 2004. As of this time now, it's the 19th of November 2018. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you that there's some wicked people operating in positions of power who will do anything and everything to conceal the truth. Money is the root of all evil. That's what we see here. Statement from my mother, Mary, Bruce from Charles, 29th of November, and this is my mother's signature. I just give you a snapshot of the first page so that you can see what I'm reading. And it's an 8-page statement. I am the mother of Charles Seven. I am a witness to all the bad things that have been happening to her since the broadcasting people stole her writing and sold it all over the place. Therefore, the people who are already named above are being taken to court because they are all guilty. These people have robbed, cheated, lied, used and abused my daughter because she is a talented writer and they are greedy for money. I'm very upset about the whole sorry situation. These people are the lowest of the low. They are thieves, liars and hypocrites. They have no right to steal or sell my daughter's copyrights. We are not people who like going to court, but what these people have done to my family can never be accepted or brushed aside. The treachery, greediness and bullying is being done by solicitors and broadcasting executives. These are all people who should really know better. After these wicked people have stolen all my daughter's written work because they know they are guilty and fear going to court, they have given her non-stop aggravation. We have all had to live with this terrible situation for the last 12 months. 12 months. 2018. 15 years. It does not look good. So it does not look as if it's getting any better. These people want to be wrong and strong. My family and myself have had enough. My grandson is suffering because he cannot take it anymore. These people have driven him out of his home. He is now staying with his elder brother and me until the courts deals with these criminals. In my time of life, I should never have to be put in this disgusting, shameful situation. What these people are doing to my daughter for money is pure wickedness. They have made millions and billions legally from stealing and selling her writing, and they don't want to pay her or have to pay the price for what they have done. It is their own guilt that makes them behave like animals. We have a human right to take these corrupt people to court, whatever corrupt people believe. Charles is not their slave. The law is supposed to be for justice, so the court must investigate what's going on behind closed doors in these television stations with a fair, honest judge, so that justice can take its rightful course. These people must be seen for who and what they really are and punished. They cannot get away with abusing people's lives to sell TV programs. I'm not going to read any more because it's too emotional for me. God rest my mother's soul. She's with me anyway. And she produced this exhibit as well because they were using fake bailiff companies, even though I didn't owe anybody any money, just like Richard Hannah's trying to do now. They tried to use fake bailiffs companies to put me in prison, to literally destroy my life. Just all invented. Okay, so this is my mother's exhibit. She'd be turning in her grave to think I'm still doing this. So these are some of the fake bailiff companies that they use, just more or less like Hannah's doing now, you know, they just create bullshit to keep you terrorized, you know. These are all fake bailiff companies with 24-hour removal notice. I mean, these were put in my door literally 3 times a day, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. This is how they manage to terrorize you, using some mechanism. All fake companies, fake removal, fake removal, fake removal. Look at this. Prior to committal to prison proceedings. Just like Hannah's doing now. Same tactics. This is what they do to people. Don't know anybody anything, and they show up and they invent all kinds of reasons to turn up at your door and literally terrorize you, so that you cower, you know, you get traumatized, literally your life is torn apart. You can't have any relationship with anybody because eventually it will encroach upon that, you know. It's a really horrible situation to have to contend with. You know, I mean, I've kind of climatized to it now. After 15 years, I know the drill. And what you're seeing by Richard Hannah, if you go to his Twitter page, you'll just see just non-stop abuse. Non-stop, daily, non-stop abuse. Abuse after abuse after abuse, harassment, stalking, on a level that is unprecedented. And the level, because of the money involved. That's what the motive is. And also the criminality involved, because obviously to keep this all hidden, they've gone to town in horrific ways to keep the truth of all the deals and illegal deals hidden. And so they have gone as far as anybody could go to cover this up, you know, and that's not something they want anybody to know about. So what they do, they try to persecute the victim, turn the victim into the criminal, you know, and look for ways to try to either murder the person, put them in prison, you know, and it's just one big game to these people. You know, the problem that they have is that they see that all this evidence is credible. The reality is it's factual. You know, it's beyond credible. It's a fact. And this poses a real problem. Okay, this is another statement. This is from one of my sons. And it's 20th of November. Signature. Okay, it says, I I'll just show you the front so that you can read it. I, Marley Charles, am the claimant's son. I'm 15 years old and lived alone with my mother up until events made it unbearable for me to stay at home any longer. I'm writing this statement to let the court know about the appalling things that have happened to our family since my mum's work was stolen and sold. My mum is a talented writer. My entire life, Mum has written manuscripts, television shows, and composed, performed, and produced music. My mum is a kind, very caring, helpful, peaceful person who I now also feel must be very unlucky to have somehow been landed in this situation. I just read some extracts because it's too many pages to read. It's a 6-page statement. I would often see my mum stay up all night, most nights of the week, working on the computer, writing her material, on her scripts, TV shows and music. I enjoy watching television, and I hadn't heard or seen anything like the shows my mum had created. I knew they would make popular TV shows. My mum used to ask my opinion about titles for shows, and many of the TV show titles I actually came up with. She had written lots of different versions of these shows. I also used to help her research about health and fitness because I'm into sports and fitness in a big way myself. I'm not going to go into everything here. I'll put it online and you can read it that way. Okay, so these are neighbours who lived in the building. And this is a statement of Margaret McKellar, 21st of November 2004. Lot of it so you can see what I'm reading. Let's see how. Oh, I've got some of her exhibits here. And that's her signature. And the pit statement is 6 pages. I, Margaret McKellar, am one of the many witnesses who has seen what has happened after Charles met these people about her work. I'm supporting Charles because she worked hard on her written material and should never have been treated this way. We all have rights to be paid for our work. We shouldn't have to put up with nuisance stress and harassment because they expect to get something for nothing. The court has to put a stop to this once and for all. They stole and sold Charles's material against her wishes and they don't want to give her a single penny for it. Well, like it or not, they're going to have to pay her. These people have wreaked havoc. There is no reasoning with them. I'm fed up with it. Charles has taken the case on herself because her trust and good nature has been abused time and time again. Judge, you must not allow these people to get away lightly. This new nonsense must be stopped. It's already been reported to the police many times, but the police said to take the case to the court, so that's what she's doing, whilst we've had to live with nuisance and harassment. So, I won't go deeply into that, but she gave an exhibit because she was the first person to buy me a security alarm when she saw that I was being literally attacked daily. This is her exhibit page. And it shows you her exhibit. Personal alarm I gave to Charles for safety and protection. I think it says for safety and protection. And this is the alarm that she ordered for me at the time. Oops. Sorry, yeah. He actually ordered this because of what was going on. And as you saw in my previous video, now the victim supports have provided me with alarms. After 15 years of allowing this to go on, they've now provided me with alarms, which is progress, I guess. So this is a statement of Terence Willows, another neighbour who was in my building, who witnessed what was going on. 20th December 2004. And you can see it's just a quick shot. And you can see his signature is at the back. He used to write with calligraphy. He had beautiful handwriting, Terry. I, Terence Willow, am a witness of the events that have led up to Miss Seven suffering nuisance and harassment as a consequence of her written material being stolen and her pursuing legal action for the theft and sale of it in December 2003. I thoroughly support this claimant's case because I've personally seen her greatly wronged. She has undergone a whole series of transgressions, human rights and civil liberties, which the law must do something about, because this predicament has been going on for far too long. These offences are having an impact, an adverse effect on our lives and everybody around Miss Seven. We are totally fed up with it. It is time for the law to put a stop to the perpetrators. They must be brought to justice and punished. I've known Charles since she and her younger son became neighbours at residence. It's got my address here, almost 5 years ago. She has always conducted herself courteously, with dignity and respect. I'm trying to find just interesting stuff for you to read so that it doesn't go on and on and on. In 2002 to 2003, she was commencing to help address serious health and fitness problems with the documents she had created for people who are incapacitated. This was intended for the main channels on television. Margaret and I have always watched a lot of television. Margaret watches more since losing her mobility. So we thought Charles had come up with an interesting and useful concept. Neither of us had seen any programs of this nature on television before, so appreciated the moral value of what Charles was embarking upon. Charles is an altogether very ambitious young lady, and we knew she had created something worthy of attention. She's inspired by the great legends, very much understands that the only way to achieve anything in the arts is by working hard and being a good craftsman. I saw her working extremely hard on her writing, and to witness how it has been treacherously stolen and sold by these broadcasters without even being mentioned is an absolute disgrace. I know how much time and effort Charles put into her writing, and for all this hard work to have landed her to become a target of treachery, greed and abuse by lawyers and broadcasters is nothing less than an absolute outrage. So that's two other witnesses. Okay, so this is another statement of Christine, who's my friend, who I wrote the book about that Townsend Allen stole. And that's the shot of her statement, and I'll show you her signature. Okay, I, Christine Agnew, am Charles Seven's witness regarding the theft of our book manuscript entitled The Walk, based on my life. Our book manuscript was on a floppy disk left with the media lawyer Miss Tamsin Allen on the 19th of February 2004. Instead of returning this disk appropriately, Miss Allen stole it and sold our manuscript to be converted in for exploitation throughout the international media for money illegally. Apart from this being an infringement of copyright, this was a total breach of her position as a practitioner of law and infringement of our human rights. This has caused much pain, suffering, and embarrassment. I have included several exhibits to prove the walk was stolen and plagiarized from my true story, which actually took place in 1985. The movie adaptation of The Walk was sold without any consent to ITV after Charlie was deceived and betrayed by a man named Christopher Vaughan in May 2004. So the book side, basically there was two versions. One was on the floppy disk sold by Tamsin Allen, and another man called Christopher Vaughan, who made up defendant number 10 on this list, also cashed in and said, okay, what we can do is like we'll sell the rest of the story so that we can get pay for lawyers and what have you. And basically he ended up betraying me as well. So it was literally everybody was cashing in. It was just like a mass exercise of all these vultures, you know. So this is Christine's statement. Charlie would never have gone to court if these people hadn't stolen the material. Charlie went to see the solicitor Tamsin Allen for legal assistance after already being the victim of theft of her copyrighted documents. Then we found out the script on the disc had been sold illegally to all the networks all over the world. When I found out, I was really shocked and devastated, especially that someone in a professional position could ever do that to anyone. This is the worst possible thing that could ever have happened. My husband and I have been in the film industry for many years. We are well aware that some people in the industry steal and abuse writers when they think the work is commercial and going to make them money. Entertainment is a cutthroat business, but some people take it too far and become very ruthless and will stop at nothing to get movie rights without paying for it. Authors have a right to be paid and should not be treated with such disgraceful disrespect. I've known Charlie for well over 30 years. We have a very special bond, and I can testify Charlie is an honest, caring, honourable, responsible, respectful person. We treasure our relationship and consider each other as sisters. Over the years, Charlie and I have built our careers and lives in accordance with spiritual beliefs. It means a lot to both of us. We take our beliefs. Okay, might look a bit different because I just turned the light on. I think when the lights above are off, it kind of looks a bit strange. Anyway, yeah, I was reading, we take our beliefs and extremely seriously. That's why professionally we both gravitated towards the creative professional healing arts. Then she says, I'm qualified practitioner yoga teacher. I also dance professionally and choreograph, perform, teach children and adults. I take great pride in my work and my professional achievements. Then she says, as a yoga teacher, I am against lying, stealing, greed and lust for power or money, and the manipulation of others. Over 23 years ago, when I was in my teens, between 1982 and 1985, I worked as a shop assistant in a shoe shop called Pippin's on the Edgware Road, W2. Since the theft of the manuscript in April 2004, I understand this shop has been closed down after 30 years or more of trading. They literally bulldozed the whole area when they found out that this was a true story. Because when Tamsin Allen stole the script, she didn't know it was a true story. And it's only when we were going to take proceedings and they found out that it was a true story. The whole block where the shoe shop was got bulldozed down, you know, totally mafia style, you know. Anyway, in 1985, call it destiny, fate or destiny, call it what you like, led me to leave my job in Pippin's. I spontaneously purchased a ticket and left everything I knew behind to fly to Australia. It was a major, life-changing transition for me. I was young and had thirst for knowledge and life. I gave up everything on a leap of faith and flew alone for the first time to Australia, leaving my friends and family and boyfriend at the time behind. This is part of my life, all dramatized in the stolen manuscript, The Walk, from chapters 1 to chapters 13. So she explains about the walk and what happened and, you know, how it all came to be. But that statement is how long? She's got exhibits as well. It's an 8-page statement, sorry. And exhibits, an exhibit page. And you can see all the exhibits that are marked. Every single exhibit has been logged. Proof that this was her personal experience that got stolen and traded all around the world. And I'll show you some of the exhibits. One of them was, because the story starts off in the shoe shop, and that part of the story had been turned into a competition called Finish This, End of Story, which they sold to the BBC, and they got all these famous authors to complete the script. I'll show you that in a minute. But this shows that she worked in Pippin. This was her original CV. So I'm really, really tired. And we've got diary extracts from when she was on the walk. It shows where she was in Australia. Letters from her, which were all part of the case while she was on the walk, which refers to the walk. These were all letters in different parts of Australia where she was during the walk, because she wrote to friends, family, to let them know she was safe. I don't know if you can see that, but this is all part of, you will see different parts of Australia where she was on the walk, proving that this was her real, true story. Okay. And the letters inside from we've even got diagrams of, you know, things they made while they were on the walk, her and this man, Mark. Yeah. Because the man that she went on the walk with was originally in the advertising industry, and it was so corrupt, this is the irony of it, that he left the whole advertising business to go on the walk as a kind of protest, if you like, against the whole corruption of that industry. And look what happens to his story. And this is the letter from Tams and Alan about the floppy disk. That's when we asked for the floppy disk to be returned to us, and she refused to return it. She stole it, and you can see she was only a solicitor at the time. She wasn't a partner, and she jumped straight from being a solicitor to become a partner on the back of what she had done, racketeering with this script. I want to show you some other things that came out of the theft of the script. This is all stuff that was launched on the back of the walk. All campaigns. This was a campaign that was launched based on the script. And you see Britain on the Move. They got people. Sorry. You can see it's all about giving up transportation, all based on this script. So they sold it commercially as all different types of campaigns, and they wove it into the whole health and fitness project that I had stolen by Helen Alexander. So they incorporated the same two themes. I want to show you another one. Walk the walk. And there was something, finish this end of story. See, this is the walk. And if you look at it, you'll see it's basically the same names. I don't know if I can show you. Can you see it? Yeah, they basically named the characters the same name. They didn't feel like they needed to change anything. You can see, if you look at this, I don't know if you can see. Oops, how can I get to it? Yeah. Let me put my hand on it. And so there, oops, if you can see, can you see Christine? They basically had the same names. See, there's the name Christine there. Basically, they didn't even change the names. It was so blatant, so abusive, these people. I wanted to show you the authors finished this, which they also sold to BBC. So they sold different things to different networks to maximize the profits. Okay, these were some more exhibits that showed it was a true story from Australia. These are all letters that she wrote while she was on the walk. You can see that. So the lighting is not great, but you should be able to see that these are all letters while she was in different parts of Australia, sometimes in Sydney. Yeah, Sydney. Basically, they walked all around different parts of Australia. This is Brisbane. So, I mean, all of this exhibit showed that it was a true story, and the judges were horrified. They were absolutely horrified, the lengths that they went with this abuse. Okay, this is also part of the script, end of story. And this was the nationwide competition. You'll see. So they got famous authors. They gave them an extract, like from each chapter of the book, and gave it to famous authors to complete, and started a competition with it. So that's one famous author, Sue Townsend, Marion Keyes. Alright, that's Britain on the Move. This one was Faye Weldon. And one of the authors said, where did the script come from? I think it was, it could have been either Sue Townsend. And there's a paragraph in it. She said, when the unnamed narrator of this story meets a mysterious man in a shoe shop, and she highlights that it's an unnamed narrator of this story, because obviously she's a writer. So she was obviously asking questions. Where's this script come from? You know, this is how abusive these people are. And this is the reason why they don't want the public to know it, because once the famous people that were involved in this get wind, because obviously they're writers, they suspected as much, because they kept obviously asking, where has this come from? Where has this script come from? And it was all part of the cover-up. Okay, so this is one of the last witness statements. And obviously I've got another case in the courts currently with more witness statements. But anyway, this is a however many page, 17-page statement. It says, I, Anita Latang, am a witness to the terrible events that have consumed all our lives after Charles became the victim of theft of her copyrighted documents and scripts. I write this statement to support Charles's case because I, like all the other witnesses, am completely shocked and overwhelmed by the events that have besieged Charles as a result of her trying to take action in the High Court, never imagining it would be such a trauma to get our voices heard in order to have the truth be known and justice served. I urge the court not to take this matter lightly, but to see that terrible crimes have been committed and that this case does have merit. I can testify to the truth of this case because I saw from the very beginning how everything unfolded. Therefore, this case must not be struck out. It is only through the High Court that this situation will be justly addressed. Okay, so I'm going to wind it up there. So please share, like, subscribe, spread. I almost forgot to put my statement, just to show you that all the statements were together and received by the courts. And my statement is the 11th of January 2005. it says, I, Charles Seven, am the claimant in this action. This case was brought because I have been grossly victimized, violated, abused by these defendants too many times, and enough is enough. I was not born to make frauds, thieves, and liars rich. Every word stated in the original statement is the gospel truth. Witnesses and myself have already tried to get justice through the aid of lawyers, the police, the Law Society, and other organizations for a year now. And our attempts, I say that because it's 2018. You know, at that time, you can imagine the frustration. Can you imagine now? You know, our attempts to bring these defendants' illegal racketeering with my intellectual properties to the law's attention has only consummated in my becoming the target of the most sadistic vendetta, causing my family and myself to endure dangerous levels of abuse and victimization. I have suffered nuisance, trespass, been watched, followed, threatened, harassed every day for the last 12 months. It's now 15 years, placing my entire family life under siege. This has gone on ever since Helen Alexander from SMG stole, converted, and exploited my documents with other defendants after the NTL meeting that took place on the 11th of the 11th, 2003. These defendants have inflicted serious aggravated losses, damages to my health and my family life. Okay, now this statement, my statement is huge. I think it's about 112 pages. And let me just show you, because it's 12 defendants, I have to produce evidence against every single one of them. So this is the contents of the evidence, the exhibit page. So this will give you an idea of the kind of evidence that went before the court, which make up the courtroom audios. Okay? And it's staggering the amount of evidence we produced. All exhibits. Okay. So when you listen to those courtroom audios, you have to bear in mind what created those courtroom audios. A vast amount of evidence. So when you read, oh, the case was dismissed and there was no evidence by Richard Hanna and all the criminals, you can see here that that is an absolute lie from the pits of Satan himself. Right? Besides this, there are affidavits, sworn affidavits. We're talking about skeleton arguments, numerous witness statements. I mean, this is just one statement. This statement here, C71, there was about, it ended up being about, I don't know how many statements, but there were a lot of statements by the time we actually managed to get the victory that we got. Right, there was no way that we couldn't have got a victory with all this evidence. It's just no way. We left, no stone was unturned. And so that is just from one bundle. All this evidence is just from bundle C. Okay, because remember, it's 10 corporations I'm suing. So this is bundle C, marked as C. And this is bundle marked as D. So this has got a whole another batch of evidence. I mean, there was so much evidence. This is full of evidence as well. So what I showed you, the list I just showed you, only relates to C. So this list, CS1, and all these exhibits here relates to bundle C. Then there's bundle D. That's just from me alone. Then on top of it, you've got 14 other witnesses that also produced evidence. You tell me that these people who didn't respond to the claim, with all this evidence, you tell me how that case could possibly not have been victorious. How is it possible that a man who didn't acknowledge the claim, who didn't turn up in court, how is it that he turned out to be victorious? You tell me that. It's called corruption. It's called foul play. Okay? That's how. And this is what he's doing now. And he's going around using the same bully boy intimidation tactics that he's used all the way through from the very beginning. Okay? And that's really important for people to understand. You have to ask yourself, how is it that a man, that judgment was given against him before I even got into court? When I got into court and I won against before 2 Lord Justices, Lord Justice Chadwick and Sir Peter Gibson, and again also before Justice Warren. When I went before Justice Warren, they removed the evidence from him. And then that's how it got to Pumphrey. And even then, when it got to Pumphrey, that's when I was victorious again. So you ask yourself, how is it possible that this case has not been settled and resolved? This was a clear-cut victory. They didn't turn up. Okay, they sent a criminal barrister to try to dismiss the case, and the judge, as you listen to the audios, you will say the judge said he couldn't do it. It was just too much evidence. We left no stone unturned. Okay, and I want you to consider that when you think about what is going on in the British justice system right now. These people need to be behind bars. You need to consider everything I'm saying, because when you start to think about how they got rid of this case, then you'll start seeing linkages to the London bombings. Then you start seeing linkages to other atrocities that have taken place. Okay? Grenfell Tower is also on the picture here. Alright? You need to really, everybody that watches this, you need to share it. Share these videos. This is part 2. I did the first part showing all the other evidence in relation to the case as well. But this is evidence to show that serious criminality has gone on here. Crimes against humanity have been perpetrated. You know, and they're trying to silence me, they're trying to put me in prison, they're trying to do everything against me to keep the truth hidden. But here's what I'm saying. Credit, pay, and apologize. To you, Richard Hanna, to you, Richard Branson, to Tamsin Allen, Helen Alexander, all you TV networks, every single person involved in this case, you know everything I'm saying is true. It's time to pay up. Right, you've put me through hell on earth, you know that. It's time to say, we have to stop this now, okay? I'm not going to accept any more of your abuse. I'm not going to accept it. You can write what you like, it's not going to wash, okay? I'm going to build a legal team, which is what I'm doing, and we're going to come after the money. It would be much better if you fess up and you just say, you know what, let's just pay this woman. We know it's the truth. She's got all this evidence. Instead of keeping it going like this. What does that achieve for you? What does it achieve? I asked the British police to step forward and arrest these people. They're literally terrorizing us every single day. They're doing it now openly on social media, okay? Spearheaded by Richard J. Hanna. He's trying to get the evidence removed. He's bullying platforms. He's bullying journalists, threatening people. He's got no rights to threaten anybody. The evidence shows clearly this man is a guilty man. This is why he's abusing us. Currently, I have to sleep on other people's sofas. I've had to move around. I can't be in my own home because of this madness. How is that fair? How is that possibly fair? Do the right thing. The British police, the Met Police, we've sent you the evidence. I'm asking you to do the right thing. Arrest this man. Arrest this crime ring. It's enough already. 15 years is enough already. We want peace, okay? To put this evidence out is a duty. It's a responsibility. It's not defamatory, it's factual, okay? It's part of history. It's part of a case that is massive. It's preventative to help all of those other creative people who this has happened to and they don't have a leg to stand on. You know, if you don't arrest these people, consider the next thing they're going to do. These are criminals. It has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. You know, if I had done any of what these people have done to me, even for 1 month, I would be in prison. They're trying to put me in prison when I'm the victim. That's how insane this is. I'm asking the public to get behind me and make noise. Make some noise. 7-7. Jean Charles Menendez. Ask questions. What happened? Look at the Farrell report. Look at the Grenfell Tower report. Okay? These things are crucial evidence. I'll link them in the description so that you can actually look at these documents yourself. Watch the courtroom audios again in relation to all of this evidence. And ask yourself, should these people be able to go around threatening people still, causing misery and destruction? Should they be able to live off the proceeds of crime for 15 years? Should they? No, they should not. So I'm appealing to everybody who's watching this video. Share the video. Let people know what's happened to the real creator of Dancing with Stars, You Are What You Eat, 10 Years Younger, all those famous productions. Strictly Come Dancing, Dancing on Ice, they're all my productions. I've never received 1 penny for my productions, for winning the court case, for my court costs, nothing. The only thing I've been paid is evil. Death threats. Now I'm totally being smeared all over the internet by this psychopath. Is that right? Should he be able to do that? Should he be able to get away with this? With all these witnesses and all this evidence, should he? No, he should not. So I'm asking everybody, this is a public appeal. Send it to the police if you want to, the Met Police, and say you want these people arrested. Demand it. If he threatens you, post a cease and desist order. I'm asking all of the public to come forward and do a cease and desist order against this man who's trying to terrorize me and others into silencing the truth. And it's enough now. It's enough. I've suffered enough. Other people have suffered enough. We want peace now. We want peace. No more evil and no more abuse. Okay? Credit, pay, and apologize. And that goes to everybody in mainstream media. You know what's happened to me.